Hello, 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 and welcome to Project Possible with me, Rich Lee. Today, I'm talking to UFC commentator John Gooden ahead of UFC London this coming Saturday, which I'm going to with my son, and I'm incredibly excited. So, not going to do a big, long intro for this one. John's had a great career, phenomenal story, 12 years in the UFC to this point, and just love chatting to him, so enjoy. All that remains to be said is, without further ado, I bring to you my conversation with John Gooden. Enjoy. John, you are 12 years almost into the UFC. Is it 12 years this year?
It is weirdly my LinkedIn anniversary day today.
No
Because
way.
on my way in here, I was getting pinged 12
There you
years.
go.
Congratulations on 12 years. How the hell did you manage that? No, that's the question I ask myself.
Wow.
But yeah, I think if it's not. My first event was in the March
Yes.
of 2014.
Right.
So here we are, 12 years pretty much.
Man, that is incredible.
Yeah. I never thought I'd get to this. I never really thought too far ahead, honestly. Not saying, super present and all of this.
Yeah.
No.
The
'Cause
universe makes it, right?
Exactly. I was always looking ahead to everything that I needed to get done. But did I think I was going to squeeze 10 years of juice out of the UFC? No. But then I look back at that and think, well, you actually sacrificed career, nearly your marriage, and all of these things, and you maybe didn't think you had 10 years in it. That was pretty wild. But now I don't know. I have a really good relationship with the people that make decisions at the UFC, and I've been booked up for this year pretty much until October now,
Right.
so which is rare to get my scheduled events that far deep into
okay.
the calendar.
Yeah.
So that's all positive. I've had a really strong start to the year, stronger than I thought I would. So yeah.
What does strong look like? What's a good start to the year?
Well, I typically used to start the year at UFC London, which is around March time, sort of St. Paddy's Day.
Yeah.
And I might get a couple of little producing gigs on the lead up to that. And then my last gig is maybe the beginning of December 2025. It was the middle of November.
Right.
So there was a chance I might go November to nearly the end of March without getting on the microphone. And I don't really have any other live gigs or big stuff to do. I've got some content stuff, which is equally important and helps a great deal. But they're the bits that you live for. And it's a long time out. So then I got a note from the guy that, our senior producer. I was actually looking at maybe doing the Euros in Jiu-Jitsu. And I was awake at an ungodly hour. And I was like, I think I'll do it. Go back into my emails and go, we're going to send you to Sydney, which was the end of January. We're going to send you to Mexico City, which is in a week or two. And subsequently, I've gotten some shoots. I went and shot a feature with Tarek Hopstock, who's on UFC BJJ this week. And then I just got back last night from being with Lonnie Kavanagh, who's just been promoted to the main event of Mexico. And next week, I'm seeing Luke Riley and Lerone Murphy. I think I did 3 or 4 producing gigs in the whole of 2025.
Right.
And I've now done that in the first month. So that is a very productive and fast.
Clearly seen as a very safe pair of hands, good at what you do. I mean, you were just given a new contract,
safe
weren't
pair
you?
of hands rather than good at what I do. But
That's both, isn't it?
We have to solve problems.
Yeah.
If you can solve a problem for someone and make something easier, I'm not a trained producer. I'm not the best commentator. I'm not the best presenter. But send me along, and I will probably do all 3 of those things for you, and have done in a single week. And I'm not sure other people would be willing to do that. They probably could do it, but would they be willing to do it? So yeah, I have voice will travel.
Have voice will travel. I love that. It's kind of like me. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Have voice will travel. I'm stealing it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
take
editing
it,
that
take
right out. No. I mean, you touched on the sacrifices you made to get to this point, and let's go to career pre this. Actually, let's go even further back than that. Were you sporty when you were a kid? Because
everything's
I know
been
you were
about
into
sport.
martial arts as a kid.
First sport, probably swimming. I was the first. This is really weird. It's such a geeky thing to talk about, but I was the first kid to do a swimming badge. I think I have a few more years on you, but there were badges that we would embroider onto your.
I remember them.
Yeah, okay.
I remember getting my 5 metre one.
Okay, well, I got what was
I
called
was about 26.
honours, yeah. Well, no, it's the first thing I got thrown into. So I got honours. I was the first kid to get honours in our school, tiny little school in Hertfordshire, but all the same. Because I got it through my swimming club, and then my headmaster was like, well, could you do it again for us? for the school. I'm like, hell no, that's like running a marathon twice in, a couple of months. So, yeah, did that. I was really, really keen swimmer. And then judo for 40 years ago now. I started in judo, then karate. I do the combat sports thing first. So, yeah, judo, karate, amateur boxing, big gap. None of my friends did it. So I went back into football. I went to a grammar school. We did rugby, not football.
Yeah, same as me.
I was the year below Josh Lucy.
Right,
and
okay.
the year above Ed Lucy.
Right.
So I played rugby with both of them. So I had a really strong rugby school. I wasn't great.
What position were you?
Can you believe I was a tight head prop? I started off as a tight head prop.
Can I ask the obvious, were you a bigger kid?
It wasn't that. I had strong legs.
Right,
and
okay.
I was really slow to develop.
Right.
So I went tight head prop, and I think I ended up at fly half. So
That's a hell of a jump, isn't it?
It was a bit, yeah. As you see, like I was, as like puberty.
I mean, you're quite tall. You're not short, certainly.
Missed me by. Like,
yeah.
I've been so slow in developing. I think that's why, if I can say, I'm pretty proud I don't look my age, but it's because I suffered early on, like no underarm hair until I was like 18 or something.
Really?
But, in a boys' school.
Yeah, I mean, I was the exact opposite. I was a beard by 12, kind of one of those kids where is he playing the year up and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, want to see your passport.
Yeah, all of that. So I mean, I did all my growing by about 12, 13, and then everybody starts catching you up, and you realise that you're not as good as you thought you were.
Right. Yeah, no, I think because I wasn't, and I read a really interesting book which nods to this, and I'm going to Outliers, and they talk about how they did a study in the NHL, and if you weren't born between August and February, you'd pretty much get overlooked. So most of the professional players, 90% of the league is born in those months, because physically you would develop to a point where you just get more attention, then you get more coaching, and you get left behind if you were smaller. So those athletes never really push through. So I'm actually, my birthday's coming up, so I'm 26th of Feb.
Right.
So I'm probably
Right
just a little bit.
I wonder how many
slower.
parents have made decisions to have children on the basis of that, and
That is
there's probably
quite
not
something.
There's probably not a small amount of men that have gone, yeah, no, we're definitely having a kid inside that window.
Yeah, or hold them back a
Interesting.
year, something like that.
Yeah.
So my friend did that. My friend Steve, one of my best men, his kid now is, I think, the fastest backstroke swimmer in the country. He played for Ipswich. He really enjoyed ballet, which is why he left Ipswich, because they didn't want him to do both. What else is he doing? He's a scratch golfer, and he wants to play professional cricket. So he's out of school.
Yeah.
He's about 15, 16 now, and it looks like he's on a trajectory to play cricket. Like, how ridiculous.
So cricket's what he's chosen.
Yeah. He's still swimming, though. Still up at 4 every morning to go swimming. So I think there is maybe something about...
and I guess that discipline from swimming for you was an aspect that kind of crept then into martial arts, right?
Yeah, I think just being competitive really early on.
Yeah.
Bad loser, terrible ego, and I'll race you to the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
Walking down the high street.
Do you have siblings?
I do have a younger sister by about 18 months.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But she's not that competitive in that way.
She saw you and thought,
yeah, no, she's quite sharp-witted. She did an English degree. So that's been her side of things. But yeah, sports has driven my life completely and utterly.
Arsenal fan as well, right?
Arsenal fan as well. I really like Arteta. I like what he stands for. The behind-the-scenes stuff that I've seen, I really vibe with. I really hate how Premier League managers it's just a revolving door. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
You'll understand this, connecting with people, building relationships, getting the best out of others.
It's ridiculous.
How can you
bringing
do
in
that?
a whole team behind you as well, because we forget that coach brings with him, a team, a whole staff that, lose their job at the same time. And I mean, I adore NFL documentaries. The sports documentaries for me are literally put it into my veins, stick it in my veins, and I'll watch it all day. And we'll get on to some of yours. But, that is it. I remember seeing there's the SEC documentary on Netflix right now where one of the coaches says, if I get cut, I'm still, what was my last contract? Millions. That person over there that I brought with me, that's their livelihood, that's their job. They've moved here for this. And that's the reality of it, isn't it? And Arteta gets the plaudits, gets the headlines, but who's he brought with him? That conditioning guy.
Yeah.
Who's he brought with him? Backroom staff that, also lose their job. It's, as you say, it's brutal, but is that why it's as good as it is?
Maybe.
It's hard to say, right?
We'll never know.
No.
The money in football's disgusting, by the way. But, I guess market forces, whatever.
Yeah. Can I hasten a guess to say you're a Bruce Lee fan?
I was a bit of a Bruce Lee fan, yeah. I do remember, Jean-Claude Van Damme was a real big influence. The Karate Kid as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they all played a part for sure. But Bruce Lee films were kind of 18.
Yes.
And my mum wouldn't let me watch Grange Hill, which was a kids program. There was some, drug addiction storylines, so she wouldn't let us watch certain things like that.
Okay, so
yeah,
Way of the Dragon and all of that is way off yet.
Yeah, I couldn't quite catch that when I was a teenager or into later years. But
Right.
yeah, Van Damme and all of those things. Boxing was big in my family.
Yes.
My dad was a big Sugar Ray Leonard fan and Barry McGuigan.
Right.
So I grew up watching and enjoying boxing. I was Chris Eubank era, loved Chris Eubank, Prince Nassim Hamed. So when
He's been doing the Ramsey game recently,
he
hasn't
has,
he?
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
lovely
which
to
has
see,
been good
actually.
to see. Yeah, he's got his son's a very accomplished boxer.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
So when I went to St Albans Amateur Boxing Club, a lot of it was because of Prince Nassim Hamed and probably to connect with my dad a little bit because it was.
Was he always a boxer?
Well, he wasn't a boxer. He was pretty useful. My great granddad, growing up in Bermondsey, was a bare knuckle fighter on the docks down there. Pretty rough stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that my granddad used to earn his beer money by fighting outside pubs in and around Islington. Yeah. And my dad's got some big old mitts on him. He didn't want to upset him. But yeah, none of them really did much. And my uncle on my mum's side, he fought for the RAF. Right. He was a boxing champion for them. So yeah, fighting's kind of in and around the family. Very much working class roots.
Yeah.
But my neighbour represented the UK back in the day. Morris, God rest his soul, he passed away a few years ago. Morris Leader. So he took me in his front room, was giving me some lessons. He came out with a bloody nose. I came out with a bloody nose. Just let me hit him, basically. Bless him. He was a big heavyweight. But yeah, who knows what the curtains would have been twitching there. That was quite funny. And then I went about and did that for a little while. It was good fun.
Can I ask, the grammar school thing, was that a social mobility move? Like, do you feel like that was you kind of, I'm bright enough, I'll give it a go back when grammar schools? Because certainly for me, that was I'm a kid from a council house, benefits, grammar school offers you an opportunity to almost test yourself. And then if it's obviously being selective, it's like it gives you opportunities that you might not have otherwise had. Was that similar to you? My dad had done really well. So he was an electrician. Right. Of course he was. We'll get on to this in a minute. Yeah. Just a grafter. His dad was a chimney sweep and a postman. So that bloodline is all about work ethic. My mum, half Irish, half Arabic. Yep. The Arabic side, very academic, very suit and tie. I think my grandmother grew up with hired help and plush carpets. Wow, okay. She married an Irishman who was very well educated, who had travelled over to Bahrain, found her, they kind of eloped. Right. Both kind of got disowned by their families a little bit. But he was from a pretty well-heeled family in Dublin. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, so that's a film, isn't it? Well, yeah. I don't think many of the people in the family want to talk about it much. I haven't been able to unearth all of the nitty-gritty stories. But because of that side of things, my mum was very much like, we want you to be a doctor, dentist, politician. And then my dad was sort of similar. He said, dentists, they work with their hands and everyone needs, to have their teeth repaired. But he just did what he could to provide. My mum was there to sort of drive the ambition and get that. You've got to study, you've got to be polite. She's probably one of the big drivers in being a communicator. I remember been forced to answer the phone when we were younger and stuff like that. So manners and etiquette was huge, really high on the list for my mum when we were growing up, both my sister and I. What's her accent? She was quite well spoken, but not really that well educated. She grew up in a council estate. They were very poor, cut the ends off of your shoes type. Really? Yeah. Because of the disowning I don't really. There was a lot of. You need to delve into this, John. This is listen. Yeah. I think it's some quite we need the producer stuff. Of what's that program? Who do you think you are? Yeah. We need them to do one on you. Yeah. That's what we need. Yeah, I think it would be quite emotional. Yeah, my mum was quite troubled from her time as a kid. There was alcohol and gambling addiction. I think in that house, so that caused some problems. So, and both my uncles are very unique in their own ways. I'm very close to both of them, particularly my uncle Robbie, who's actually, I think, now a fourth dan in karate, Shotokan karate. Okay. So, martial arts and fight sports all around. But yeah, that was the drive there. We moved to a really affluent area called Radlett. Mm-hmm. So we were pretending to be middle class, but my dad had a van on a drive. And weirdly, the local community would complain. They didn't want a working class family in the road. And because my mum was Middle Eastern, they thought she was Jewish,
There was a big... the area was becoming quite a populated area for the Jewish community. Right. I grew up with a lot of my friends Jewish from when I was at school, and my first housemate as well, Lee Moskovich. So, but I wasn't Jewish, and it was really weird. So we had a lot of problems in the road that we grew up in.
When you said it was 80s?
Yeah, it would have been in the 80s. Yeah. So they were calling the tax man on my dad and running a business from home and trying to get the council to, not have him have the van in the road and all sorts of things. It was really awful for my parents in particular. But they put us there because they wanted better opportunities for us. This is a long way round of me telling you what's happening. I was pretty good at school. And actually, to get into the grammar school, your parents had to write a letter, and that had to pair up with your academic profile. So I got into Watford Grammar School for boys, which was a really strong school at the time. I'm not sure what it's like now. Had a great education, really grateful for it. I got really ill doing my A-levels, so I never really kicked on for secondary education. I did go and get a degree and stuff, but I was...
You were the first, I understand. You were the first. You were the oldest grandkid,
yeah,
right?
I am, yeah. And I think that's one of the... Not that it was important for me, but I think for my dad...
It's important for the family, right?
I think so, yeah. So my mum, with where she was and what she went through in life, she certainly wanted different things for her kids.
You started working in the city in recruitment, and around recruitment, right? Yeah. Was that your first job?
That was my graduate position,
right. Yeah. So what did you do at uni?
I did business administration.
Nice, solid, good, general. Yeah. Right. You thought, right, London, there's money, and there was money?
I actually wanted to work in stockbroking.
Yes.
I watched a couple of movies. I can't remember which ones, but the whole
belt
idea,
and braces.
The yuppie era was something that I kind of grew up around.
Hang on, you watched Wall Street and thought that's Wall Street,
Douglas,
Wall Street, Gordon Gekko.
Yes.
You watched that and thought that's the man.
Yeah, and where I lived, there was. I mean, it's like a car show when you went down into the village. Yeah, a lot of real high achievers down there. I have to say I've moved away from there now because I don't like the vibe, and I think there's, with a lot of success and pace of life, and it can bring out the worst in people. Yeah. I never aspired to be in this position where you're looked at someone who is a flag bearer. I've just I want to be the conduit. I want you to celebrate that person over there, but I'm going to help you get there. Yeah. But sometimes in that, you then just naturally end up in a position where you're quite visible. And I'm not an extrovert. I'm not sort of wanted for that as I've gotten a little bit older. I think when I was younger, if I thought it was going to get me money and attract ladies, then I was down for it. And I can remember telling people that I was a TV presenter when I was trying to be a TV presenter. And their reaction, and it worked. You know,
people love that stuff. Again, which is interesting.
I think historically, TV presenters and things, they were very exclusive roles. You would only see a few presenters do a lot of shows. 4 channels, right? Then 5. And they'd be really well paid and all the best. And it's a lifestyle thing. So I did work for a little bit at the BBC, and it was a cool lifestyle.
We should say you stopped doing the recruitment in and around the city to go off to do that, right? Yeah. To work for free, as I understand.
Exactly.
Was it an internship, or what was it?
It wasn't even that. So stayed at home to go to university. I was in love at the time. So it made sense to kind of not rack up loads of student debt and see where that relationship went. And I knew I wasn't really doing the degree that I wanted. I had an offer from Durham University to do management and Arabic. And then I go and do business administration at Middlesex University.
Can you speak Arabic?
I can't. Okay. I would like to have done.
You would make your mum so happy.
Well, yeah. I would have made my Tata, which is Arabic for grandmother, I would have made her very happy. Right. Had a very close relationship with her. But weirdly, my dad didn't want her teaching us Arabic. I don't really know. Never really asked him about it. But maybe it's just like working class dad stuff. Yeah. So we never. She used to talk to us in Arabic all the time, and beautiful. The things how it would kind of translate like directly was very bizarre in what she would say, but very emotional. She'd pick up the phone and say, hi, Tater. So, you are my sunlight. I would die for you. You are the reason I
just wanted to see how you were.
Exactly that. But this is every time, And when you would say goodbye, it would be like she's at the Wailing Wall. It was extremes. So I was quite captivated by all of that. But anyway. Yeah, didn't really fulfill what I thought that I could have done academically. So then I got to the city, wanted to be in stockbroking. No one was going to give me a job because I didn't have the degree for it. So I ended up recruiting for the banks. when I first started doing recruitment, it was very consultative. I was with a really good company, a company called McGregor Boyle. Shout out to those guys. I was working with a guy called Roger George. Oh, I've just gotten a bit emotional there. Roger sadly passed away recently. Had some issues with his brain, but he was a fabulous mentor. Yeah. And he was so cool. And the way that he would dress and carry himself in the room. And from living at home during university, where I think is where people find themselves, I sort of, that didn't happen for me. But when I worked under his guidance and leadership, and then when I was meeting all of these other people that had really kicked on from university and found themselves, I was, again, late to the party a little bit.
I'm a big one for, I think, as men particularly, we almost need to find that man, usually, to apprentice ourselves to.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be your sensei, your coach, your whatever it is, a teacher maybe. But you know, in your case, was Roger that guy for you? You know, that man that you look at and you think, he's got it worked out. And I guess you prostrate yourself, you apprentice yourself, so you can learn and build and develop yourself. It's almost like that second dad.
Yes.
You know, for some people, their first dad.
There are just people that you look around at, and I grew up in another house as well. Like one of my closest friends, Dean. He had two older brothers. I think it is worth saying they were like the only black family where we grew up, and his parents were very Jamaican. And Dean is very much younger than his two brothers and his sister. Right. But his oldest brother, Andrew, was just so sharp. Like everything was so meticulous. And he just had all the girls, and he had a nice car. He was a karate black belt, right. And everything just worked well for him. He would walk in the room, and you just couldn't take your eyes off him. We all looked up to Andrew because he had this level of success.
Yeah,
and Roger looked like Andrew.
Right,
had this aura about him like Andrew.
Right.
So in that room, he was the guy that I kind of latched onto as well. Just so happened to be my kind of senior person. So it just doubled down and helped. When I was looking around, I had a choice of a few offers, and I'm like, that guy that was like Andrew, I think I'm going to work really well with him, and that was Roger. Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it, how these connections come about. So I found myself working with Roger, did really well in that company.
What did you learn from Roger then that you still use today?
I think the use of language. He could present so well, just articulate. He wasn't. You didn't need to be big and loud and everything else. Oh, and he taught me about how to communicate with senior women as well. This is quite funny. This is such a funny thing that he said. I don't know what it was, but I think I've always been a bit of a man's man, and I've always gotten really well with ladies, and always had a girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. But in the workplace, I don't know what it was. And he just pulled me aside one time and he said, you've got to learn how to communicate with women. And I just remember him, he was joking. It's like, even down to soft furnishings. Do you know what I mean? But he just had a real turn of phrase. But he just helped me out in how I could navigate the workplace with the quite frosty woman from accounts who was a senior partner who never liked me. You got to find a way to just connect. And so there were a few things there, but even just the way he presented himself. Like when we were wearing shirts, if you had a pocket on your shirt, he'd be like, do you fix fax machines? Are you putting a small notebook in there? No. Get rid of that. We're going to wear shirts. We're going to wear cufflinks. We're going to buy a nice pen. You might not have the money now, but when you walk into that room, people will buy from you because of the way that you present yourself. And I think there are little elements of that. I'm not fully there with that, but I definitely feel like there are threads of that, if you'll pardon the pun, that I've taken with me through my journey. So yeah, I tip my cap in that sense to him. But yeah, the communication thing and the way that he helped me navigate the room.
I'm sorry for your loss, mate.
Yeah, it's really sad. He called me up to tell me, and he said, I'm only telling a few people, which took me by surprise because we hadn't maintained a relationship, but it sounded like he was watching from afar. And he had some pride around me and another guy that he had mentored.
Isn't that wonderful? The idea that these people are watching from afar.
Yeah.
You're not quite sure who is watching on.
Yeah.
But
and they're the ones that count.
When was the last time before that phone call that you'd spoken to Roger?
Oh, it's probably not far off when I left the city. I think I'd gone to him. I'd asked him for some advice After I'd left the city, went into TV because I found my confidence.
How did he feel about that? What did Roger say about that? Was he supportive
I think
of?
he'd moved on. So he'd moved on to a different company. So, so he'd left me at this previous place. But it actually meant that I assumed a more senior position.
Yeah.
And and then when I went and came back, I asked where I should go. And he gave me some really sage advice, because in recruitment there are consultative approaches and there's real salesy approaches. And we were much more consultative. Yeah. So he said, well, go over there and you might round out your game here, go over there and it might be more like yours. So yeah, sure. he did that. And I think that was probably one of the last times. So a few LinkedIn exchanges.
Maybe decades.
It was a long time. It was a long time. So
how beautiful then for him to pick up the phone.
Yeah, and with that news as well, you know, it kind of knocks you for six. And again, like with my job, one of the downsides of my job, and there's only a few, but you miss everything. So I never got to attend the funeral, and I never really got to, you know, go and explore that side of things. But I was grateful for the call, and he had a really big impact.
Oh, rest in peace, Roger.
Yeah, for sure.
Mate, thank you for sharing that. Just before we started recording, you've said a few times, you know, how does a kid from Watford end up in this position? How does a kid from Watford end up doing what you do right now?
Hard work, putting yourself out there, trying not to upset too many people along the way.
I've heard you say it a few times that you think you might be quite easy to work with.
Well, I don't know. I mean, other people might think differently. But I think when you've tried a few different things commercially, so I paper round, worked in shops, worked in a supermarket. What else did I do? I installed car stereos, worked on building sites as a labourer, then went city, TV, city again, working on building sites with my dad. And
then you went into electric. You know, you retrained as an electrician, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of exposure.
How old are you at this point when you're then getting into being an electrician?
Mid-20s, I think.
Mid-20s. I mean, that's a hell of a lot to chuck. So you've done City, BBC. I'm intrigued by the BBC experience. How long was that?
Hard to say. Maybe a couple of years. Yeah.
So that, back to the City, and then into, you know, the family business.
College, family business, for a long time.
And you're mid-20s. That's a lot to condense into that period of time.
Yeah, is it? I don't know.
I think so.
Well, I think
most people by their mid-20s they've come out of uni at 21-ish. They've had a job or two.
Yeah.
But you've done all of these things.
What
you've
does that say about,
Well, no, it shows that you're trying to find your path.
Trying to find it, yeah. I remember my dad telling me I was on 35 to 40k when I was 22, 23 in the city. And back then, I mean, I think it was a strong salary.
Yeah.
It was a strong salary. And my dad said to me, like, John, what are you doing? You're leaving that to do this TV thing. And it's not like I'm a trust fund kid, but my dad has helped out a lot through the years and given me like a safety net. Not necessarily financially, but he's never made me feel like if it all goes to shit, I'm going to be homeless.
That's the thing I used to be very jealous of with certain kids that I went to school with.
I can see why.
Was if you fuck up, you're okay.
Yeah.
And if I do, that's the end of it. You know, it's just like I don't have the fallback that other people do. So, but equally, when you become a parent, all you want to do is provide that fallback. Yeah. All you want to do is allow your children to fail.
Yeah.
So it's such a funny dichotomy of kind of, you know, well, no, they must make it. I must make it. And then also, no, I want to, but they need to learn that they can fail. And it's okay. Sure. You know, so
I was happy to get out that door at 21.
Yeah.
Because I didn't live away during uni. I was out the door at 21, living with, as I say, living with Lee and a couple of others. And it was a good time. But I could always go home. I've always had a good relationship with my family. So that was always there. So I guess that does allow you to try things to a certain extent. But he gave me some words of warning. And I don't know. I wanted to do this thing. I'll be honest. Probably the fame thing was part of it.
Really?
I grew up around seeing Vernon Kay and, oh goodness, Radio 2 presenter, did all of the X Factor stuff, Irish name, Dermot O'Leary. And this is going to sound really arrogant, but I just didn't think they were that special.
Right.
And I was...
Do you now, having had 12 years of experience in the UFC, do you see what they do as...
It's reps, mate. It's reps, mate. Honestly, a lot of it is reps. Yeah. No one's great at the beginning.
Yeah.
It is reps and getting comfortable and finding how you do things. And then you learn all the other bits along the way. And that makes you easier to work with. And people then see the back office stuff of you understanding the broadcast, and that's why you might be a trusted pair of hands. But I was almost, how would I put this? Kind of testing the water out in the field, in like socially with blokes and with going out and chirping women, and I'm like, oh, I can hold a conversation.
I'm a charismatic guy. I can.
There's an energy here. I'm getting good feedback in all of the things that I'm doing. I was playing a lot of football. I played football for the club where Vinnie Jones started out.
Right, okay.
So just below sort of semi-pro level, but good football and all of these things. I was just having a good time through life, and I thought, let's go and have an even better time and do it on camera. You get to travel around, meet interesting people. What
was your ideal gig? What was, if you look back now?
It was like T4.
T4.
Yeah.
That's immediately when you said about Vernon Kay.
Yeah.
I thought that era, Vernon Kay.
I'd have loved it.
Yeah.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
I would have been terrible. So
Do you think?
Yeah.
Why?
When I then, because I had information to tell you as such. I got to the BBC and I was working in like a research capacity, helping out in shows. But the reason I think I got picked up by various little production elements in the BBC was I was a little bit older than the other media school kids.
Right.
And I had commercial experience, and I don't F about. If I do something, I'm all in. When I play football, I don't stop running. I'm not technically gifted. I'll shout a lot and I'll run around way more than everyone else. Right. Like even with my martial arts stuff, not technically great.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And it's frustrating, but yeah. And then I've always had that kind of that ethic. So I get in there and I'm working really hard and obviously pleasing the managers, etc. But I wanted not to do the program making. I wanted to be in front of camera. And they tried me out for, do you remember the Cook Report?
Yeah.
Consumer affairs stuff and going undercover. And that was the
This is
unit.
about the time of like doorstepping, right?
It. Yeah. Exactly that. So I did do a couple of screen tests like that. They were grooming me almost to get into that role. McIntyre was someone else at the time. But I wanted to do like light entertainment stuff. So
like Big Breakfast, like,
it
that
didn't
kind
fit.
of...
Like when I was trying to screen test for this stuff, it didn't fit. And I had a weird, quirky style. And then I was looking at BBC Three was a new thing. And I got screen tests for some other stuff. Thought it was going to happen, didn't happen. And all of a sudden I'm sitting on 14 grand a year. So that's a 20 grand pay cut. I'm now no longer living in West Hampstead in North London. I've had to move back home with my parents. I'm riding in on a 50cc scooter from Radlett to...
So cool. Painfully cool.
Well, to Shepherd's Bush, but it's...
You weigh more than it, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But they were great times, but I've also been ambitious, and it's not that I'm hungry for money, but let's be honest, it drives a lot of things and makes life a lot easier. It does. And I did want the 2.4 kids type life as well. And the clock was running down. So I'm always in a bit of a hurry. I've always been impatient, which is perhaps why I've jumped around. So I ended up with the BBC going, well, I gave it a go. And you just weren't good enough. Fine. And then we went back to the city. IT bubble burst. Got fired from that McGregor Boyle, where I actually was hired after graduating. And that was a kick in the goolies. Yeah, I didn't expect that. That hurts.
So you went back to McGregor
there.
Boyle.
Eventually, I did another couple of, and then I went back there.
Can you remember?
It was unfair.
What you got
pretty
sacked
much
for?
unfair dismissal.
Really?
Yeah. There was someone that never liked me.
Was that bloody woman, the director? Was it?
Yeah. In my mind.
Listen, Roger told you needed to learn how to talk to her,
and
you clearly didn't learn.
Yeah. I thought I actually did manage to get her back on side, but they gave me a too short a time to try and perform.
Oh, I love that. The performance review. Ooh.
Yeah.
If by next week you can hit this, and this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
You've literally just opened a new book on me. It's never going to happen. So that was upsetting. But then it made me think, all right, I'm going to go and do something entirely different. I got burned in 2 different industries now. Dad needs a hand running the business. Let me go and do that. Dad, I'll run the office for you. No, you bloody won't. If you want to help, you'll get on the tools.
You're on the tools. Yep.
So I went back to college, learnt and got really into it, like really into the nuts and bolts of helping run the business. And I was the regs guy, so I would sign off all the work.
Right. Got
us approved by the NIC, EIC, which is a big thing for us at the time. Because it allows you to compete for bigger contracts. We got approved to do solar installations. This is really boring from people that might be listening because of UFC.
UFC. No, listen, again, the edit will bring it down to a sort of thing, but also I love this stuff because, and I'll say it now, and this stays in, who people are and why they are who they are fascinates me far more than success. I've been sat across from billionaires, I've been sat across from world champions, Olympians, and I mean, who am I to be sat across from them, right? But equally, it's why they did those things. It's, you know, the drive that they had, the ambition they had, this story that gets to that point. Because again, nobody's an overnight success, right? And you know, that's what, again, we'll get into the you know, your things like, you know, up close. Some of the documentaries you've done. Yeah, that stuff just fills me up because you get to, oh, okay, I know that human, and I think that's all we're trying to do, isn't it? We're just trying to connect to people. We're just trying to understand ourselves via others. This is quite a selfish thing, really. Yeah, it's an incredibly selfish thing. I get to hang out with awesome people, find out who they are, why they are who they are, and also steal lessons from myself. Yeah. What a cool thing. Yeah. You know?
Well, so, we do the same job.
Really?
You said a word earlier, linear. And the one thing I would say about my story, and it's important for people, young guys and gals that are coming up that want to do similar things, don't put too much pressure on picking and choosing early on and thinking that that's where it's going to go. As you've kind of alluded to, chopped and changed a fair bit, but I've taken lessons from it all. So real quick, when I was working in recruitment, I got training to be an interviewer. That then has stuck with me, and interviewing and extracting information is the core of everything that I do now. And I learnt that in my first job out of university. I didn't learn it in university, but it was the first job out of it. So I got paid to learn it, even better. And then when you do shit things in the job that I'm in now, then I go back to, I was crawling around in a loft with itchy insulation in like 25 to 30 degree heat, wiring downlights for someone, all out in the rain in the thick of winter with your skin split on all of your fingers, getting electrocuted because you'd never turned the power off. I've done all of that. I've cleared up, swept the mess, been there and done it. Happy to do it again, by the way. And I'll do whatever it takes. Yep. And when you have those points of reference, it really helps through the shit times. So we should take everything from our respective journeys. Hopefully we get to a place that we're happy with what we're doing. Yeah. So that kind of is...
to anybody watching, listening, just for the UFC stuff, you don't get to it. You don't get to doing the things you've done, calling the fights you've called and the interviews you've done and the work you do, going over to Madison Square Garden, you know, all the Vegas trips and all that. That doesn't just happen, you know.
No, and you don't want it to.
Exactly.
One of the things that I try to tell people, so how do we work for the UFC? Dude, don't put yourself in that situation. Yeah. I trod the boards. I did the best I could. I was probably the most active commentator. There was only a few of us anyway, but I was probably the most active guy. And I still got a lot of shit. Who and why does he deserve to be here? So if you leapfrog all of the things that build the armour and fill up the toolkit, by the time you get to the position where you really need to perform, you might not be around for very long. So go through all of the different phases.
And do you feel, again, you're there with Bisping, I mean, obviously you came up with Hardy, you know, into the UFC with Hardy, Dan Hardy, you know, enormous fan of Dan. Like, you know, when I started working in PR, I started working with MyProtein. He was an ambassador, so I got to do a couple of like interviewee bits with him, not in person, just like, you know, emails, but you know, like proper inspirational guy. Yeah. And he got the idea of branding, but I guess he's coming after Chuck Liddell and people like that who knew branding. They get it. It's like, you know, oh, well, how do I stand out? You know, I think Liddell's a perfect example, and then Dan's a great example of, and there've been obviously many since, great examples of people that just get it. But, you know, these are fighters. These are people that have done it. They've entered that octagon, and you haven't. And not to say that you've not done martial arts. Obviously, you've very much done martial arts and continue to. But do you ever feel that, oh my God, I'm stood next to DC, and, you know, and do I deserve to be here?
Yeah, sometimes, and sometimes people make you feel that way.
I was just about to say some of the comments. People, you alluded to comments. People will be like, "Well, why have we got this person here that has never, you know, never been, you know, in that position in the cage?"
Yeah, there are, and also the role that I perform. Should you have needed to have done that? to be in that role? And the answer is no. I have fought in a cage. I did do amateur. My pro career didn't happen for me for a few reasons, which we can get into if you like. But it didn't happen. So then I still to the day have a hang up about that. It's like a level of regret. Well, I think also because I got a fragile ego and I get people telling me that you can't fight out of a paper bag, and I have other people that are fairly dismissive of my comments sometimes, and I'm thinking, all right, I didn't get to show what I was capable of, and I was only ever going to be a shit UK fighter, by the way. I was never good enough to cut through, but it was a long time ago.
What weight did you fight in?
So my amateur stuff was welterweight, but it was, you didn't cut. So I probably, because I was a rake at the time, there was an argument. I might have been a featherweight fighter, but that would have been tough. So more than likely,
You'd have been a bloody tall featherweight.
Yeah, but there are tall featherweights.
There are tall featherweights, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, probably realistically lightweights. But yeah, I was training in a good spot. David Lee, who's been my coach for a very long time now, since about 2008. Before that, I was with Mark Chen, who's a bit of a UK MMA legend as well. Trained alongside Dennis and Sutherland, Mad Max. Who,
were you travelling to be trained by these guys?
So the martial arts thing, I had a gap to play football, as I said, but I've always competed in sports. But I really missed it. I really missed combat sports. So I went. A good friend of mine, Chris Charles, who was a Muay Thai fighter and a guy that I used to socialise with. He was the guy that gave me the smashing machine as well, the original one,
I watched that probably about a year ago when I first heard about the smashing machine coming out. I thought, haven't I seen that? Again, I told you I look sports documentaries.
Very
I'm
important.
In, and bloody hell, what a documentary! It was almost like what was that one about drugs? The doping.
Right.
What was it called? People will be screaming at this, and
not like Icarus.
Icarus, right?
Oh, right, okay.
Like where a documentary starts off being about something and then just morphs. Just morphs. Like the smashing machine should never have been what it became.
Yeah.
Because it should have just been, here's this big hard guy, he's doing incredible things. Look at him, isn't he? Winning. But it just became this wonderful, almost Shakespearean, like kind of treatment of man.
Yeah.
And what fame and success and self-doubt and all these things can become. And again, in that way that Icarus started off as something and then became something wonderful and different.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. So if people watching, listening enjoyed Dwayne Johnson and the Smashing Machine and bloody hell, go and watch the original. Go and watch a documentary.
Yeah, it's touching stuff. Yeah.
So sorry, you said you
so Chris there was all these things were signalling it's time to get back. So I actually was living in Watford, and I would drive down to Brick Lane in London, to the London Fight Factory, and I've reconnected with the guy, Cliff Burra, and I would do my Muay Thai with Cliff, and then I would stick around and do my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and it was pretty much all Brazilian guys as well, with the dudes down there, and I did that for a while, and then Cliff said to me, dude, why are you travelling here when you've got Minotaurs, which are round the corner from you, actually in the area that I originally grew up, which was Edgware. And the Minotaur was then run by Chris Knowles, who's been in the corner of Khalil Roundtree. He's Jonathan Haggerty's head coach. Had a really good time training with him. But I wanted to do MMA. And I found an MMA spot in Rayners Lane in Harrow, which isn't too far from Watford. And in that, as I mentioned, was Mark Chen, Dennis and Sutherland, a couple of other guys. He moved up north. I then trained with David Lee. So I was, proud moment for me. I've never really spoken to Dave about this, but I actually cornered Dave for one of his fights on UFC MMA. Dave fought in the UFC a couple of times, and now he's got Sam Patterson in the UFC. We had Charlie Leary, who was on Bellator.
When's Sam fighting next?
At
London, he is, isn't he? He's on the card,
Michael Venom Page.
Of course. Yes, I mean, I'm an idiot. Yes, of course.
Yeah, so it's a big fight. I've been around the gym, and I've been a body bag for these guys for many years. But sadly for me, I lost a friend in a kickboxing match, and he was in a group of friends that I also socialised with, not like my core friendship group, but just on the other guys. But those guys went to school with my wife, and my wife dated Dan, who sadly passed away. So it would have been so selfish for me to carry on as a competitive fighter, because everyone was just broken by this. So he gets knocked out in a nightclub in Hemel Hempstead in a kickboxing match, and he never wakes up. And I was there with his sister and with his girlfriend and a couple of his mates, and they're all looking at me because no one else is in combat sports.
They're like, he'll wake up, right?
Yeah, they're like, is this normal? And I'm like,
gosh.
oh my goodness.
How old was he?
I was in his 20s. Yeah. Oh, honestly, it was awful. I was so angry and just so many emotions. But
And I mean, how was his competitor? How was his opponent?
well, I mean, yeah, I don't blame him actually.
No,
but
I mean, it's you.
I'm angry about the matchmaking. I'm angry about the coaching involved. People don't realise how important matchmaking is.
Right.
This guy that he fought was seasoned, had many trophies, and this was Dan's first fight in 2.5 years.
Right.
And the other one was his first fight ever, so his second fight ever. And you're fighting someone who's as accomplished as this guy. Should never have been in a ring with him,
Right.
in my opinion. And then there wasn't the necessary medical people on site, and then he was transported to various hospitals. In the end, needed to go to a specialist unit in London, and it just, yeah. Maybe he had an underlying condition, and I don't want to speak too much because I don't know all the details. All I know is the pain.
Well, I mean, you can speak exactly to that.
Yeah, and it was awful, and it led me down another path where I actually Graham Boylan helped me get involved with Safe MMA, which was an initiative for MMA to try and stop that kind of thing. You know, we started with blood testing and physical assessment. I'm very pleased to say now it's extended to brain scans and more. But it was no one had the money or the resources to do this kind of thing early in MMA. Guys are fighting for free. Pros are getting £100 or more, and now you're asking them to spend that on like medical stuff. So we're moving along at a faster rate. But going back to this situation, my wife said to me, we weren't married at the time. She said, if you start sparring again, I'm going to leave you. I can't go through. I was like, oh shit, how can I go to the gym and not spar headshots? But I did. And I'm grateful to my coach to let me carry on doing that and just do kind of like no headshot stuff and be around the gym.
It's conditioning and kind of skills work. But
yeah, there's other part. Thankfully, with MMA, there's grappling. And
I mean, that's
wrestling.
the reality is, and you know, it's a beautiful kind of art.
Yeah.
That often gets lumped in with, like, you know, heavy-handed kind of, you know, monsterism. And it's just not fair. You know, again, you know, the technical aspect of it is wonderful, and I wish people would be able to see that. But then equally, stories like what you just said happen, and that becomes the headline.
Thankfully,
incredibly rarely. I mean, again, rugby is my background. The number of players that have been killed or injured, paralysed in just scrum training.
Yes.
But we still put our 7-year-old, hey Johnny, go out there and, you know, have a run around, and you know, I mean, I know that there are rugby's adapted quite well, not perfectly perhaps, but you know, to its tag, and then it's, you know, and then you know it's, you know, I mean, they're quite tight on tackles above a certain height at a certain point, and all those things.
Risk is definitely reduced.
It's reducing, right? But it's interesting then that after that experience, MMA becomes your livelihood.
Yeah. Well, what it did is it pushed me towards other aspects of the sport rather than the competitive stuff, because I couldn't do it. Like, it was never going to fly if I wanted to maintain this relationship with my wife and also my inner stuff as well. I was conflicted for a while there. I remember looking at Dennis and Sutherland, Max, who's had a lot of fights, multiple-time champion. We all met up at the pub to celebrate Dan's life in the sort of local fight community. And I remember driving out of that pub car park and looking at Max sitting on the wall, and I could just see, because he didn't know what his thoughts were, because that was his livelihood. He was a coach, he was a fighter, and I could see what he was thinking. He's like, what am I doing? And it was a really big moment for all of us. But you know, we just had to make sure it didn't happen again. And martial arts.
You already had a relationship with Graham Boylan at this point.
Yeah. So no, not at this point. This happened earlier, but later on. So that's it. Then later on, I ended up commentating for Cage Warriors.
Of course. Sorry, I've skipped ahead there.
So it was just then I was again banging the drum for the sport, making sure I was already doing that, but now this was a little louder.
You were still working as an electrician as you're doing this,
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And was it just because, hang on, Cage Warriors is the, you know, preeminent, I guess, European promotion at the time?
Yeah.
It's, you know, how did you kind of approach that? How did you get into that position?
So still part of the fight team. So Coach Dave put a show on in Watford, at the Watford Coliseum, called KO MMA, K-A-Y-O.
I love how many there have been, and I said this in Mark Weir's interview, and possibly in Christian Leroy Duncan's as well, who we'll talk about in a little bit. I love how they're all like blood smash.
Yeah.
And, they really
all
like,
of the derivatives,
all of the basically
lowest common denominator.
Absolutely,
stuff, 100%.
Yeah.
But we were on that, and that was a local show, pretty much for our team and a few other local teams to throw down. I was cornering for the first show, and then we had LA Muscle TV come down, and they sent a female reporter down, and she didn't know anything about the sport. And just the way she was asking the questions was, I thought it was a little disrespectful. She did a good job with the information that she had, but I wanted to do that job. And I thought I could do it better than what she did.
Yeah.
And it really encouraged all of those old ambitions of being a presenter. So I turned around to coach and said, I could do what she did in the next show. He said, look, I've got nothing to do with LA Muscle TV. However, why don't we do commentary for these shows? We can put it on a DVD and sell it to the fighters' fans, and we can give each fighter a DVD, and it will just help cover.
So, post commentary or
No,
just
live
so
you go,
live
put a
commentary.
camera on the cage and let's go.
Yeah.
I have a little dictaphone. I've still got it. It's about that big. And it was just me by myself commentating these fights. So I would run around, because this is amateur MMA. This is 2010. The socials aren't... Instagram didn't exist. Facebook was around, I think. But no one's using it for that reason right now. It's just their family holiday pics. So I'm running around as guys are arriving and getting their hands wrapped, going, okay, dude, who the hell are you? Why do you do this? What have you done? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, little notes. Thanks very much. Next. So I then had to fill the space of their walkout with this information, make people care. And I guess I just none of this was kind of strategically done and mapped out. It was just what I felt was right. I called the fights, and then eventually we got, I think maybe my friend Dave Waters, who's now a black belt, who runs a school. He's fought a few times as well himself, a really good friend of mine, and sort of a mentor. I'm not sure if he knows that. But we did that together a couple of times. Then this is the key. This is where it all changed. I get a fight card. There were multiple people from a single gym. So I'm like, well, it's really hard running around on fight day. Why don't I go to these gyms, jump on the mat, train with these guys, then I'll get to feel it, know what they're like. We'll also get a little story, and that will help with commentary. And I get to train somewhere else. That'd be cool. So I call up some coaches and say, can I come down to your gym? So like, yeah, cool. So I go down to the MMA clinic in Islington. That was Graham Boylan's first venture. I'm on the mat, I'm training with these guys, I get to maybe do a little sparring perhaps, but afterwards, you know what it's like in sports, after the bell rings or, class is done, you sit down and you shoot the shit. But now you're in it with them, and I'd like to think, I was an amateur at the time, and these guys were good amateurs, maybe early pros, so I wasn't out of my depth. So they can see that I'm trying, maybe I could offer them something. So we're in it. We have a little, maybe they respect me a little bit more. So I'm now learning all about these guys, and I can bring these notes to commentary. And maybe the next visit, Graham pulls me aside, says, are you a freelancer? Didn't even know what that meant. Can I use you on my show? Yes. How much do you charge? Don't know. Think I got 50 quid. So for his first show, I did that at the HMV Forum in Kentish Town. His next show, he'd been invited or bought or whatever it was, don't know the details. It's a Cage Warriors broadcast. And now I'm sitting next to Ian Butlin, and the Butlin brothers were pretty notorious in UK MMA. They had a storied history, especially up in the north and with the Cage Warriors promotion, legit fighters. So they were feared as well. But now I'm sitting next to Ian Butlin. I'm like, oh shit, this is for real now. And I really enjoyed working with Ian, took a lot from that. Ian couldn't do something, then a guy called Josh Palmer comes in who, I owe a lot to. We became a little duo on Cage Warriors working together, created our own little groove, and I loved it. Loved what I was doing, threw everything at it. Earned no money doing it. It was costing me a fortune, missing holidays, birthday, all of that stuff. And this is from 2010 to 2013. Until I kind of ran out of holiday time in 2013, asked Graham, look, I'm getting 250 quid to go to Dubai for 4 days. We're now, the next one's in Newcastle. I earn about 100 quid on site on a Saturday. I need to go home with some money for the missus. Can you just give me that and that, as an additional? And he's like, no, thanks very much for helping out. Maybe I'll call you next year. And I was devastated.
Yeah.
At this point, I had friends telling me, I think you could do something with this. And I started to believe in myself. I'm like, I really want to do this full time. I want to do this. And then there's another part of, I wanted to do broadcasting full time. There's another part of me going, I want to work in MMA full time. So when this news was delivered, I'm like, well, shit, that's it. It's done. They're the biggest show around right now. I mean, never thought that the UFC is even within reach. Didn't really give it a thought. Maybe dreamt about it.
Had it had a London show yet?
Oh, yeah, it had London shows, but didn't have an office or any of that stuff.
Mark Weir fought on the first London show. That was the quickest knockout.
The Brawl in the Hall.
The Brawl in the Hall.
Yeah. Epic event.
Yeah.
So then I remember calling up an old colleague from the Cage Warriors days. She now worked for the UFC. I was in a garage testing some electrics. Called her up. It was rainy. I was pissed off. I'd been arguing with my dad. I'm like, Claire, is there anything happening? She's like, you've called at such a great time. We've just got a new guy coming, Gary, who was the former chief exec at Man City. He wants to talk to people, wants to do things. So I had a dinner with him. I wrote out a load of ideas, presented the ideas to him. He took that sheet of paper, which was a terrible business move in some respects. So I gave him all my ideas for nothing, for a tuna steak. And then, but honestly, I'm not just saying this. I'm like, well, I'm not sure I can do anything with this, but I truly believe I know what the fans need and what the sports need. So if someone else can make it happen, then great. Have it all.
Can you remember what was on it?
Oh, everything from how they should approach social media stuff, how things in the broadcast can work, the game, UFC gyms, everything that I could think of in their business model and what I thought might help. And yeah, and he took that and he rolled it up, and then I got offered a job to be the go-between with EA Sports UFC and that office. And he told me,
as in the game, the video game.
And I'm still waiting for that offer paperwork to come through. Never actually hit the mat. And he told me to hand my notice in.
You're only good at the game.
Well. I don't really play it.
Right.
I'm not really a gamer.
Okay.
So that didn't happen. So now I'm getting pissed off because I thought it was happening, these things. But then I got called in to do a Q&A down in the beer cellar in Manchester in 2013 already? Yeah, 2013. I dressed up in my bow tie, my signature bow tie, suit. Dan Hardy was there, Conor McGregor, Alexander Gustafsson, Bisping, Poirier, Rory McDonald and Vitor Belfort, as well as Dan, sorry, they were dialed in, but we had a really good panel. I got paid more for this like hour-long Q&A that I had done for any previous.
What were you doing? You were effectively like you were asking the questions.
Yeah.
You're the conduit.
Yeah, exactly. Moderating.
Moderator. That was the question. I was awfully, making an awful stab at trying to reach.
That was probably what it was on the paperwork. Yeah, whatever you need me to do.
Oh, so they were all on the panel. How was that?
Oh, it was wild. So I saw the very first interactions between Conor and Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
I was at a dinner where young Dustin with his young wife was there with Conor. They're opposite one another. And Conor was literally saying, they want me to fight you. He was so confident. And I knew Conor from my Cage Warriors days. I'd been commentating on his fights. So I was kind of comfortable in his company. But he was already back then. He was already poking him back then. Trying to alpha him in the room.
Interesting.
And I could see already at that point, Dustin was a little bit like, oh, okay. So it was funny when everything then transpired down the line because I saw the very first face.
We'll come back to Conor because Conor was a client of mine at my PR agency.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we did the launch of Forged, the stout.
Yeah,
we'll come back to Conor in a minute as a result. But one of the things that I love about the UFC and your role in it particularly is it feels like, and WWE do this phenomenally as well. They're not afraid to test formats.
Okay.
So inside the Octagon.
Yes.
Up close, fight day focus, all of these things where it's like, the NFL do it very well. And I don't think British sport necessarily, particularly rugby, does it as well. Where
not the good, the bad, and the rugby.
I love the good and bad. I listen every week. I listen to that. I listen to the rugby pod. For the love of the rugby.
But they're independents, largely.
They're all independents. Yeah. Exactly this. Yeah. And what does rugby do when Squidge, a rugby commentator, rugby YouTuber, well, they've been really funny with him about content. And strikes against him, and you can't use our content in XYZ way. It's like, do you know what? People like us are helping to grow the sport and maintain the sport at a time when parents are saying, do you know what? I don't know if I want to put my kid into it.
Yeah.
So I think the UFC does that format swap, all of that kind of format, test very well. I know some of those things have worked out, haven't worked out, but you've been quite key to those things. You've been, at the forefront of some of those formats. Are they your ideas? Are you able to take them to the organisation?
I wish I could say that. No, there have been some elements for sure. One of the things that I've gone to the UFC with time after time after time was the Soccer AM format. And for anyone that didn't know, it was a sofa. Tim Lovejoy, who would be cancelled today with the format that they had. But it was a male host, a female host. They would get really good, guests from other sports and entertainment and music. And they'd have a little bit of crowd participation, and it'd be live, and it'd be prime time in the morning just before the football.
That was great, wasn't it? You get like Johnny Vegas taken to penalties.
And, it's just just banter. Yeah. It's just people.
I mean, I don't know if that ever happened, but so there's something in my head that says something like that might have happened.
Oh, for sure. It was really good, and I knew that would work for the UFC because it would bring out people's character. Because in America, everything was very shiny desks, shirt and tie, but we definitely had this format that worked over here, where we could open these men and women up, get to know our athletes a little bit better, and have some fun with it. So there were little bits of that were dripped into these things, but no, the Inside the Octagon came first. That was Amanda, who essentially helped get me my first job. She was the production manager in EMEA, in the Europe office. And she would just see Dan and I geeking out on fights, just talking fights. I'll be trying to get everything from him.
Off camera?
What do you think? Yeah. And she's like, we need to put this in a format. So they basically put a TV between us, and then Dan would talk the fight stuff. I would question him and quiz him, and we would have loads of fun doing it. And it was, I think, one of the most consistently successful shows that they had.
How many people tune in to watch Dan, cool, kind of break down fights?
We were nudging 1 million views on quite a few of these shows.
How long after that Q&A did all this start happening for you?
So it was at the end of 2013, and then I called my first fight for the UFC March 2014. But they brought me in, delivered the news, and put me through like a little tester at UFC 170. It was a Ronda Rousey fight anyway.
Oh, nice.
But I went out to Vegas, and we did a separate commentary, Dan and I together. It was like a tester, because it's hard to train for commentary. So we went out. Is it one of
those things where you just got to throw yourself into it and sink swim, you're good or you're not, and you come back or you don't?
I wouldn't put that much pressure on oneself for it, because you have to find your voice, but you definitely need to do reps and try a few different formats.
What would you say your voice is within the UFC now?
No bloody, the camp English one.
Camp.
I think, and actually, that was something that I've grappled with. In that our voices in the UK are naturally a little bit more camp when you compare them to the boomy, lower American tone. Yeah. So for the older UFC fan, Mike Goldberg was the guy he was around when I was working. Yeah. Mike Goldberg had a very deep, rich, powerful voice. I don't have that. And when I'm nervous, my voice gets even tighter, and it's a little higher, and it can probably come across a little bit more camp. Then I wear a quiff and a bloody bow tie, and there you've got the full package.
Hey, listen, sometimes you've got to play up to these things.
Well, play up to these things or use them, because the media are thinking that we're a bunch of thugs with skinhead tattoos and ripped jeans and not a brain cell between us. And we all know that the athletes aren't that. But if the people are still playing up to that stereotype who are on camera, then that's just going to reinforce things. So I kind of had to swing the whole other way, which is a bad turn of phrase is what I was just saying, and just put a different foot forward, because I felt like these athletes
you've got to be something different again. Right.
And I deserve to have someone in a suit and a tie representing them, or talking about them, representing their story and the sport. So that's kind of where that came from as a little side note. But my voice in it, I really don't know. I guess I should know what's going on in Europe. I should understand what's happening and, highlight those aspects. But I also feel like, because of my participation, albeit at an amateur level, I do know what's happening in the throes of certain technique. So I feel like I can open the door to a deeper level of technical analysis. Not from me, from the people that I sit next to.
And also, there's a respect that comes with it, right? And again, you know,
And I definitely have that for these fighters.
but both for and as I see it from as well, because you do put yourself, you know, in those situations. Again, let's go back to the up close with Oban Elliott. Phenomenal. I think we spoke about it just before recording. Made me tear up watching it. You know, seeing him talk about his upbringing and you know, his dad taking his own life. Obviously, I've had similar in, you know, the recent year with my youngest brother. So, you know, there's lots of parallels. Fighters, people obviously often say different breed. Oban is a special guy.
Yeah.
When I was at, I went to UFC Manchester.
Okay.
I was sat next to his girlfriend,
Oh, no
who
way.
his whole fight wouldn't watch.
Right.
She was literally like that, eyes closed, you know, hands over her eyes,
so hard.
squealing like, like you know,
Yeah.
is that good? Like, you know, the crowd's going mental. He says it in the doc. He says, you know, every jab, I could just feel the crowd building.
Yeah.
She doesn't know if that's good or bad. She's
Yeah.
like, what, is he getting hurt?
Yeah.
And it was absolutely hilarious. She was just, you know, this just brilliant character to almost, you know, watch this show, you know, watch the
Yeah.
show with. And yeah, obviously he won on the night, you know, did phenomenally. That was a great card. That documentary with Oban, and obviously you started, was Darren Till was the first.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Are they going to continue, do you think, the up close, or is it in a different guise? Because
Yes,
you know,
I'm going to continue it.
You're going to continue
Yeah,
it.
so that was my idea.
Yes.
That was, so you mentioned Louis Theroux.
Yes.
So I was at the BBC when Louis Theroux was kicking around the halls.
Right.
And he was the guy.
I mean, he's the dude. He's
He's
the man.
the guy. And I really liked that format. I've always thought that it would work in our world. I think it's a blueprint that can be applied. I'd like to think I'm certainly not nearly as intelligent. I'm probably not quite as awkward.
I think that's why people, there's that awkward, there's gravitas because of the English accent possibly as well
helps.
adds, but that quirky, like it gets him into a room where people don't feel
Yes.
threatened.
This is exactly
And I don't, you know, I'm a big guy that, you know, maybe
will change
won't
people.
get into the same rooms as a Louis Theroux.
Yep.
You know, for me, it's my story on knocks doors.
Yep.
For him, it's just he's this aloof. It's like, what harm's he going to do? Let's
Yeah.
let's chat about our, you know, overt racism right in front of him.
Yeah.
You know,
it's definitely a thing. And Ariel Helwani is probably the leading journalist in our sport.
Mm-hmm.
He is a similar physicality to Louis and probably presents in a similar way as well.
can be a bit more direct.
He can, yeah. Well, Louis can be direct when he needs to be. He's very, very.
Well, what was
clever
that
with it.
again? Back to was it the Arsenal supporter? He'd had a knock to the head, and he said, "Were you an Arsenal supporter before or after the head injury?"
Yeah.
And it's just one of those off, like
Yeah,
those quips, and you're like, it might not have been Arsenal, forgive me,
He's
but
very-
insert football fan, you know, football team here.
He's very funny, and it doesn't often come across in his more serious documentary work. But yeah, I think he's great. So I took that idea. I paid for this thing myself, and this was again by chance. So
Where did you get did you get investment for that, or was that all just personal cash?
There's a guy in the gym, Luke Gin. Shout out Luke Gin. He was guy that we train with. He was a film student. He had a little camera, and he had a top mic. And I remember in the car, because you can hear it, he would turn the mic to get the direction on it, and you'd hear it sort of clicking a little bit. So we went up to Manchester, up to Liverpool. Sorry, I paid for the hotel rooms. So yeah, it would cost me a little bit.
Do you mind me asking how much?
I think it must. I don't think it cost me as much as £1,000, but I know when I did the Arnold Allen one, it cost me about £1,000, and I couldn't recoup the money, and I was still to the day, I'm so frustrated with the lack of like commercial funding and sponsorships and brands, not just for me, but more for the fighters. But it was just a signal to me. Shit, I've got a UFC fighter with a really compelling story, and I know I've just made a good film, and people are going to watch it, and I can't even get £1,000 to cover my costs. So, and that's
The Fighting Nerds, you went out to see them for like 4 days.
so
Was
that's
that all-
different. So
right.
so after I had this proof of concept, which was a chance meeting with someone at Fight Pass at a UFC London event, so can you give this a watch and see what you think of it? And he came back and said, I will license this for UFC Fight Pass, and here's the amount. I was like, wow. So like a couple of $1,000 or something like that. And it became their best performing piece of content on UFC Fight Pass for the investment that they put in. Wow. So they then knew, I'm like, hallelujah, I've been telling you guys all this time that this kind of thing would work. They're like, yep, we'll do it. It went viral in relative terms when we put the clips out. So then I did more and more. to the point where I've now got, it's just ended, but I'm hoping we're going to do another one, have a deal with UFC Fight Pass where I give them, they basically say to me, we need weekly content, we need a podcast and do some films. So I do that and they give me creative freedom.
Wow.
I have to champion the EMEA region, which is why there's that. But then I did go to Philadelphia and Fighting Nerds. I just thought that there was a story there.
There's a fascinating story there.
And I'm really pleased that it was a life-changing experience, the Fighting Nerds one for me. It really was. I travel a lot, but I travel airport, hotel room, conference room, hotel room, arena, home.
Yeah.
This was flying to Brazil by myself. The crew were local. Turn up, like what? I didn't know anyone in that gym. I'd met Caio Barralho once or twice before, never met Pablo before. They didn't owe me anything. And I walk in and they couldn't have been nicer to me. Right. Jean Silva is a lunatic, but he took me to his home. He wouldn't let me leave until I'd eaten 3 different types of cake that his neighbour had prepared for us. I had the most potent coffee that I was vibrating at a frequency I wasn't accustomed to. He made me do shots of cachaça with him. He also pulled out a kitchen knife and was waving it around midway through our interview. Kicked my ass on the UFC game and was just lovely. Gifted me. He gave me 2 bottles of cachaça. I said, I can't, gifted me. He wouldn't let me leave without giving me a gift. But I would also eat with the guys in the local cafe.
But that's because of the effort that you've made to go and integrate yourself into, or just, even just to oversee, it's not like you've just picked up the phone and you're not on Zoom. This
Right.
is, I've made a significant effort to be here and give myself to you for this period of time.
Yeah.
So they see that, they feel that.
I'm like, you're giving me
Of course.
access.
Oh, of course.
And who am I to demand access from you? I'm going to disrupt your day.
But everybody, what's the saying, rising tide, all boats, lifts all ships, right?
Yeah.
Everybody involved in the sport, and the sport is fastest growing in the world. That's the thing we always hear. But every aspect of so many things have to feed into that for that to be the case. We have to exactly that.
We have to.
Everybody
collaborate.
needs to be in and I've got a big thing for, and spoken to lots of successful people, as I say, for this. Nobody that's doing well does anything other than want to help other people succeed.
Yeah.
I call it dropping the ladder. So once you've climbed up it, some people pull it up after themselves.
Yeah.
That female director, might have been one of those people that's like, I had to really bloody bully, work hard to get myself to this position.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're going to have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Pull the ladder up after them. Lots of successful people just want other people to do well too.
Yeah.
And also to showcase something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And while we speaking, I said mainly because I love how passionate you are about what you do. That's what touched me. That I'm curious and I want to know more. So they'd have seen your passion. So that's why you're in the room. That's why you're on the mats. That's why you're doing what you do. And that's why UFC fans like what you do, because you can see and feel that passion. So I hope that's not too kind of
No, it's reaffirming. Thank you. And the passion is, you can't fake it. I've worked in other roles in other sports, and they're just not. It's not the same. It's not that I'm not passionate about the other ones, but it's not the same level of passion. And what comes naturally to me is I just care so deeply, to my detriment. So it can really hurt me sometimes, because not everyone that they don't necessarily value the passion. They might not like the performance in whatever form that it is that I deliver. Then I got an issue with it, and I'm like, I just want people to enjoy the broadcast or my piece of work or something like that. And I've struggled.
I think what it is UFC fans are quite. Again, they're incredibly passionate and very often are so knowledgeable. They'll tell you, what second somebody got knocked out in a fight 13 years ago, right? And I'm not that guy either. So they expect in the sport they love, and until the ESPN thing, have spent probably quite a lot of money supporting.
Yeah.
They're like, I demand almost excellence.
Sure.
And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It makes it an incredibly kind of difficult crucible in which to which you might find yourself.
Yeah, and also I respect the UFC. I want to keep up. We got great analysts, presenters, reporters, commentators. They've just done an incredible week last week. They did an incredible job last week. I need to keep that end up. So when I do things like backstage reporting, which I don't do an awful lot of, which means I'm not so well rehearsed, I've had to follow Megan's last effort, and she's silky smooth. I'm like, oh shit, I'll do my best.
Yeah,
and
I
then lean into different aspects of my character, I think, to try and be a point of difference, because I can't mimic that quality. So yeah, and maybe that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm a little bit more at peace with all of that, because I like to think I have to add value in everything that I do, and it will drive me to do the necessary research and bring something to every walkout, every fight call.
One of my first questions I wrote as I prepared for this was, what does your research look like for each fight, for each event?
Consistent, daily, finger on the pulse, what's going on. And then within 2 weeks now, because I'm busier, before I used to like study so hard, like obsessively about things, but now I'm doing lots of different things. I can't quite be as inefficient. Now I have to be more efficient and distill it down. So I'll typically get stuff maybe a couple of weeks out, 10 days out definitely, where I'll look at the card and I will just have had notes. I use something called Evernote. It's like a note.
Yeah, I know Evernote. Yeah.
Years and years and years. So every time I watch a fight, every time I see something on the socials or listen to a podcast that just rings a little bell for me, I write it in there. Right. So I search my own database of notes, their name, to see what comes up and if it's recent and relevant.
Interesting.
And I'll put that into the document I take to the broadcast. I'll look at interviews, podcasts, social posts, things they've shared with the UFC, previous fight footage, and then I'll have my own interactions with them as well.
And what I love about that is none of that might come, as sometimes my notes don't even come into play. My questions might not even come into play with the conversation, as they very much, most of my questions haven't even been asked, and I hope I get onto some of them, but equally, I love that sometimes a conversation can just find its way. So all of that work, it might be a 13-second knockout.
Yep.
And you've done all that research, all that work. But
I love it though.
I know. I mean, that isn't it the beauty of the sport?
Process.
Of course.
And even sometimes I don't get to share that, but I got to consume it. Yeah. And that's beautiful. Yeah. Sometimes some of the stories, I mean, I'm hard to bring them up, but like you mentioned Oban, for example. So it's like they're heartfelt stuff, and other ones are really inspirational.
And to your credit, and again, let me do this for you, he did say that there were people that haven't brought that sort of stuff out of him. And it was wonderful to watch, and so I think you do that fantastically well as you interview, as you leave space for people, and you give them their opportunity to really delve, and it was wonderful to see.
Oh, thank you. It really it's all about that. Just again, being the conduit, or the mouthpiece. If people don't, like for the walkout and during a fight, they can't speak for themselves in that moment. I will say to you before your fight, like, what are you fighting for right now? You might have just gone through something or be fighting for a particular charity.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What are you fighting for?
Right now.
Wow.
Like, because it changes camp to camp. So there's just a few things in there, and you can just bring that through. But
let's go on to some topics in and around. Weight cutting. In 2013, you wrote that the sport was evolving fast. This is for BT.com. I don't know if you. Now, I had to use the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you.
I've never used that.
The Wayback Machine's basically it's an archive of the web.
Right.
So if you type in, weirdly it came up on Google or some social media search that I did, looking for stuff you'd written, and it showed up, but it's a dead link. But copy that link into the Wayback Machine, into archive. Whatever, and then you can see like footprints of it throughout the years. So you click one of those and you can read it. In 2013, you wrote that the sport was evolving fast, but weight cutting practices were lagging behind. Do you think enough's been done to evolve and to improve the safety of the practice?
Yes.
And I guess we've just seen Smotherman faint after getting off the scales, during when Bisping was talking about weight cutting and it's their job, and all of a sudden, literally, you couldn't have timed it any better. Yes. Smotherman hits the floor.
Yeah.
Do you think that enough's been done to evolve it into to think about the safety of weight cutting?
So much effort is being done by the UFC PI, and they've got data, like pages and books and books and books, and there's an encyclopedia that we can all go and grab and use. It's just people maybe don't know about it, but there's also a very much an uptick in the number of professionals that are available to people, nutritionists and performance coaches to help with that. There is a little bit more money, I think, throughout the sport. Not a lot, not enough, but there's a little bit more that allows people on the come up to enlist professional help. I was with Lonnie Kavanagh yesterday, and we were speaking with some rugby people, and Lonnie echoed what my point was, is until you get to the UFC, you haven't got enough money to explore things properly, and that is your weight management, your nutrition, your recovery protocols. And now he is with the UFC, he can. So the UFC is there for everyone. The PI is there for everyone to use. They got one in Mexico, Las Vegas, and then Shanghai. That's not easy for the guys and gals in Europe, but they can go over. Well, but the resources are there. They can dial in.
As I say, Christian Leroy Duncan being from Gloucester.
Right.
There's a kid who was the year above me. He's his brother. So that's how I kind of got to know him.
Okay.
So, he was talking about the PI and just what an incredible place it is. And when he goes to Vegas, they go early. Him and Mark Weir go over early, and they just rinse it for all it's worth.
Yeah,
and
they give them all the meals. It's free.
Yeah.
That's great. So, the athletes should be using it. But even further down, sometimes a little information is dangerous. You kind of need to really understand it. And I would love it if weight cutting wasn't a part of this gig.
You'd do away with it.
100%. The pain I see these athletes go through. Some of them like it. It puts them in a certain place which they want to then respond to. And
I guess it goes camp, weight cut.
Yeah.
It's like, I know it's as part of camp, but
it's a thing.
It's like and then the refuel, and it's these it's almost like these are points to look forward to or to work towards and to surmount.
Yeah, but then you got family men and women that are leaving their families earlier because they need to acclimatise because of the plane ride's going to affect their the amount they retain water, and they're not sure because of the altitude and the weight cut and this injury, and you're like, oh my goodness, it just complicates everything.
Who does the responsibility for it sit with? Is it UFC?
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah,
it won't shift. They're trying to do something like this in IMAF, which is the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, the amateur side of things.
Yep.
They're trying to get rid of it at that level, but not everyone's involved in that amateur program yet. So I'm an advocate for people to get involved. It's like the Olympics, amateur Olympics of MMA. I would like people to do that, because then culturally, if we change it at that point, then it might just go away. Yeah. But until such a time, it's here with us.
Nice. We touched on Conor earlier. It'd be remiss of me not to delve a little bit deeper. You've seen his career from Cage Warriors to now. Was Conor lightning in a bottle, or could it happen again?
No, lightning in a bottle. Yeah. When I first met him, I remember doing my first bit of research, and he was the boxing coach at SBG. He was a guy with all of these knockouts. And I saw him against Duffy, and he lost that one. But his reaction was really interesting. And then I was so lucky to be around this time. It was the explosion of Irish mixed martial arts. So in his gym, Cathal Pendred, Chris Fields, Ash Daly, Owen Roddy, they had an affiliation with Gunnar Nelson, who would come in and out as well, which is where Conor gets that stance from, by the way, Gunnar's karate style. And they were all just popping off. And then you had Paddy Houlihan following Strab Animals there, and he was a lot younger. So there were just so many. So unique, because they don't have it right now. And Conor was just a little different to the rest of them, but he needed a place where you could put him and just turn the volume up. But my dealings with him, as we were on the road with Cage Warriors in like Jordan, we were going to some obscure places, and we would go to Cork and Dublin quite a bit. Loved him to bits. He was great. Always had time for you. I remember one of the events which he headlined. It was New Year, and he made him and Dee, his now wife, went around the room together, thanking everyone for coming. Did they enjoy the show? He thanked all of us for our hard work and efforts as well. And they're the moments that, because I know he's got a bit of a checkered recent history, but I take people as I find them. And he was just great. And then he would just deliver on fight nights. And he's a marvellous orator. And he was obsessed about things. And I remember messaging John Kavanagh about Ido Portal, saying, I think Conor should look at this guy. And I'm not sure if they already had, but they ended up working together. And it was just really fascinating to see what was happening and what this guy, Conor's like talking about how he's walking upstairs with just on his big toes and coming back downstairs like an alligator and trying to mimic the movement of an animal. I'm like, I'm not having these conversations with anyone else right now. This is unique. So there was something special. But then there was this arrogance, a necessary arrogance that fighters and elite athletes have to have. And he was just a bit better at vocalising it, where when I finally got signed with the UFC, I pass him in the halls, if you will. And he's like, oh, you're working with the UFC now? That's probably because you were commentating on my fights, wasn't it? And there's a part, you just have to laugh and go, you're probably not massively wrong, because they probably heard me on that. So yeah, thank you. And then just to double down on that, Fight Island, Conor fighting, Poirier, my contract just gets renewed with the UFC. I'm around the pool. Conor's now stratospherically famous, got a gazillion camera crew around him, but Dee and his family there as well. I think I had said hello to him, and I was in the pool with Owen and John. Anyway, it's time for me to leave. As I'm leaving, he calls across from the whole other side of the pool. It's like, John. Terry goes, congrats on the new contract. I was like, thank you, mate. Yeah, that means a lot. Thank you very much. As I walk around, he goes, John. He says, you're welcome. As if to say that he pulls the strings in the UFC. And I was like, you done it again. Yeah, thank you.
Do you think that he changed the UFC for the better or worse long term?
Yeah, for the better. Yeah. Because you need the carrot, don't you? Someone needs to kick the door down. Mm-hmm. And then even if you don't vibe with... Even if you didn't like Conor and you were following him through the door, you've now found your person. You've now found your Anderson Silva. You've gone back and you've looked at Rich Franklin, the school teacher. And maybe you've found Elvis Sinisic from Australia. I don't know who it is. Do you know what I mean? But you found them because this guy's helped you with the introduction. So you might not like him anymore, but you're here and you can see that there's this new world that you've been exposed to, and it's quick and there's stuff going on, and it's like, holy shit, it's its own ecosystem, and they do things really well, and it's really entertaining, and everyone's passionate as hell. And yeah, it's just this mad world.
When was the last time you saw him?
Conor. I saw him break his toe sparring as he was getting ready for his fight. That was the last time.
As in you were there?
I was in the room.
Christ, how was that?
Fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah. Do you think he knew in that moment?
I think he had a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I think he had a good idea because of his reaction.
Uncomfortable, why?
Because I don't want to be anywhere near an athlete when they get injured and they got a fight coming up.
Yeah.
Don't want to be anywhere near it. Happened in a gym the other day. Someone got eye poked, and even though they weren't fighting, I'm like, I don't want to be around this.
Yeah.
I don't want to see these athletes get hurt because they get so few chances a year to make the walk. And if this means they now can't make the walk, then they're going to be devastated and they're going to be in a dark place. Blah blah blah. So when that happened, there were camera crews around. It was a pretty close shot because it was a Saturday night when he was sparring. And we were supposed to be doing a master interview after that session. And he went up after he got off the mats, and John came down and goes, everybody go home. Nothing more to see here. And that was the last time I saw him. So
you talk about the guy that goes around thanking people. Do you think he's still that guy?
Can be.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. Yeah. I think it's really hard.
Do you think that he wants to be that guy still?
He will. The people that I saw in that room were the guys from Severe MMA that were working the scene in the 2009 to 2015, 16. He's kept them around. He locked onto me when I was in his purpose-made gym in his garden, and automatically recognised it was me and took the time out to shake my hand before he got involved, because he recognises who's served their time and who's part of the community. And I'm not sure if it's a trust thing or whatever it is, but he'll tip his cap to you if he respects what you've done and things like that. That's all I can speak to. Do I agree with some of the things that's happened? No, of course not. But for me, I've seen a different side to someone. And I think
he seems in a good place now. Since the ibogaine, not with the drug treatment thing.
Yeah, he found God and
all of that.
Whatever it takes. I'm just happy that he's in a
Me too.
better place. And
as a sport and as a fan of the sport, you want those people that will lift it up and out of your typical, the people that are going to traditionally watch it anyway.
Yeah.
You need to find that new audience, and he did a job.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be very difficult. I'm not going to make excuses for people that behave badly when they get famous, but the amount of money and fame that was introduced to him in a 2-3 year period, it's like a lottery win. I don't know how I would have reacted.
Well, you said that you asked him how he felt after one of the first fights you called UFC for him. I think it was UFC, maybe not Cage Warriors, UFC, and he said, like a millionaire champion. Right. That was something you wrote and said, Conor said that you felt like a millionaire champion, or was to that effect. And you're like, he wasn't at the time, but within about a year he was.
Yeah.
Or, a couple of years he was.
Yeah.
So yeah, stratospheric. And I mean, I've been to Crumlin, I've been to, his pub, I've been to, the surrounding area. And as somebody from, a less than kind of privileged background, how would that change a man?
Yeah, dramatically.
I've seen, and there, but for the grace of God and all that, and you wouldn't know unless you're walking in somebody's shoes. So, White House, UFC,
right?
First of all, you smiled.
I won't be working it.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't really get to work the bigger broadcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's I've lied because I just did the pay-per-view in Sydney,
yeah.
But. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people vying for that role, and probably for what it is, it doesn't always make sense to have certain people involved. So I won't be part of that broadcast, but I'm absolutely fine with that. But I'm definitely interested to see what it's going to look like, and I'm very close to the people that are putting that together. I see the grey hairs forming.
Interesting.
And that started forming from the Sphere and that project to now this project. So I've heard all about the weight of the rig that they're going to put in this part of the White House lawn or whatever it was, the structural calculations that were necessary, things that I would never have even considered, but are having to be considered. But it just goes to show how ambitious and what a dynamic leader Dana White is. And obviously the people and connections that he's got to get these things to happen. It's wild. This is a tiny sport over here still.
How do you reflect on it as, in terms of, I guess, the cultural importance or significance of the White House event, UFC building to that point? I mean, no other sport has done something so, I guess, visually, it places it so visually adjacent to power, right?
Yeah, I've not really thought of it like that. I don't even know if
there's never been a boxing. Nobody's ever fought on the lawns.
It's so unique, isn't it?
There's never been a tennis match on as far as I understand, on the lawns of the White House. So what does that say about structural power, about the UFC?
Is it vision though? Is it not? Dana White spoke about an octagon going on the beaches of this island that we're going to go to for Fight Island during a pandemic.
At a time when nobody else is doing anything, every sport's just dead, stopped, gone.
So then we're going to put an octagon in. Sphere gets built in his hometown. I'm going to put an event on there. And it's going to be really difficult, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just think he put stuff out there, and there are maybe some artists in the world that would sketch these things out, never thinking that they're ever going to come to...
Is that what you think of Dana? You think he's an artist?
I think he's a visionary. He is wired different. Like, it's unbelievable.
Do you get to work closely with him ever?
I've had a few encounters with him over the years, but not really. No, he has to pretty much sign off me every event, from what I understand. So I thank him for keeping me around, because I'm very different to how I think he even sees a lot of the sporting stuff. The American TV way of broadcasting is very different. Although that's what I've become accustomed, and that's the lane that I'm in. Yeah, I've got a lot to be grateful to him for. Like, I nearly lost my house with the pandemic. I'm a limited company. The furlough was £800 to me. I was in the corner shaking whilst everyone else is enjoying this time off with this great weather in the country. Yeah. I was like,
I'm a business owner. I lost 80% of our turnover in that first week.
Wow.
Where clients were just picking the phone up to me, and I'm not even joking. A significant size company making good money, big wage bill every month. 80% of clients picked up the phone to me that week and said, "Rich, we're basically that contract that I've signed. What are you going to do about it?" Yeah. And they didn't say it in exactly that way. Sure. One of them close to us said it in that way. Chase me. Yeah. And so, yeah, I was in your boat, man. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
It was rough.
It was hard. So what did Dana do to help you?
Well, just the fact that he put it wasn't directly
just the
for me,
fight.
just the fact that he put that on and
Sure.
had everyone continue to do work. And yeah, of course, we were thinking, is this going to go sideways? Is this awful? The fear was at its height. But lo and behold, it was, it was all good.
I guess it does take a visionary to see an opportunity like that and think, well, where could I do this? Should I want to?
And he probably has certain things in his brain that are very different to a lot of other people. But some people might not like his style, but in order to push forward in areas of humanity, you do need outliers that are going to do the shit that other people don't want to do. So, yeah, he comes up with some crazy stuff, and his attention to detail and his appetite for the detail is so wild. I've seen him turn up the volume, not physically him, but communicate to people they do like a walkout, and he'll see it all the way through, like, yep, that needs to be louder, that light's not bright enough type thing, I want this change, that's great, thanks guys, and then he'll go back and the fights can start, and you're like, oh my God.
You talked about reps earlier.
Yeah.
Reps. That's 300 and something reps, right? 320 something reps of UFC.
Well-oiled.
Yeah. I mean, production is something that we probably don't even have time to get into the vastness of the production.
Best
and
in the world, mate.
Really?
The guys are my heroes.
Wow.
They are. I'm still recovering from Sydney. Excuse me, that was my voice. I've got a whoop that tells me I'm still recovering. I was in the green, went to Sydney in the red through show day, and I cannot get out of the amber zone. It has kicked my ass. I can't get back to full speed ahead. Those guys have already done 2 shows since then. Do you know what I mean? They go week to week, consistent, quality, hitting the notes, preparing for the White House card, Zuffa Boxing, Slap, UFC BJJ. They're all the same people. And the capacity that they have for this thing. The guys at the top, and everyone else as well, because they all go through it together. It's unbelievable. He has an incredible team. Dana and Craig Balsari, who they've brought on, like, you got to applaud them for it.
I give you names.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts. Your immediate response. Paddy.
Fun. Is it one word, or can I give you a little bit more?
Give me a little bit more, maybe a sentence or two on each.
Yeah. Authentic, fun, wild, and he's going to be a very upset Liverpool fan this season.
Rogan.
He has the ability to find the best one-liners. People give him shit for his commentary because he's been around for so long now and because of his profile. Listen to the promos. There's a reason why it's Joe. Because he just finds these words that he's put together to encapsulate a moment and talk about passion. He doesn't need to do the UFC. He's there because he wants to do it.
I mean, he started a game much like you with Cage Warriors, I guess, nothing to very little, and, was there because he loved it. And again, we talk about passion, we talk about love for something.
Yeah.
That comes across.
Yeah. So I don't listen to his podcasts as regular now as I used to, but how is a guy who is from our little sport of MMA now grown it to this point where he's sold to Spotify, was it 150
crazy amounts
$1 million, and he's got all the most influential people on speed dial, and he's still, I think, pretty humble for someone that has all of this access and all of the things that he's done. I've seen him interact with people in the team, and no one's got a bad word to say about him. It's a
good relationship with him.
I've never met him really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been in the changing room, green room with him one time. Been this close to him when I've been at a pay-per-view event, but that's it.
Nice. Nina Marie.
She is occupying a very unique space now. I think we are at the level in the sport where we were ready for her type of access and what she can open up. She can get the fighters to open up in a certain way that I couldn't do. So I think that she's doing a really good job. I think her stuff's fun. Couple of times I've been like, geez, wow, you made him say that. Oh,
well,
okay.
My next name was going to be Tom Aspinall. Do you remember what he said to her?
He did, and I was like,
when he said that to her. Oh my god! Yeah, exactly.
Because I know Tom.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I know where that came from.
I wonder if he knew where it came from.
It's not like you sit around.
But there was context. She's in there asking all these kinds of, heavily kind of sexually adjacent questions, and then he just decided to go. It was that typical northern kind of blunt force.
Yes,
I'm just going to say something that's going to stop you dead. And I don't think she knew what to do, did she?
No.
It's like watching somebody just kind of get beaten at their own game.
Yes.
And but Tom Aspinall.
Yeah. It's hard to talk about Tom right now.
We talked about an eye poke earlier,
I've got a message from Tom from yesterday. I checked in with him yesterday morning, and it's so sad. He's told me he's got to sit in a dark room for 4 weeks. Like his heart rate can't be elevated, so he can't work out now. So he's been able to do some gym stuff to this point. I hope I'm not oversharing here, but he now knows he's about to go into a really, quite literally a dark place, but it's going to be a real challenge for him. Because these athletes need to move and feel like they're making progress. I mean,
you remember Steve Redgrave when he retired, he had to detrain. Do you remember? The stories of detraining and the level of. I mean, I remember seeing before the fight, some of the documents he'd shared about his body fat and muscle composition and and all these things. And he's elite, man. So imagine the amount of training that guy's doing to go to nothing.
And he's a very important. I don't want to put pressure on him, but I think he's a very important champion for us in this market. Tom has got a career beyond when he decides to hang up the gloves. He's a natural.
So you think he's one of those, again, McGregor-esque, but very different personalities, obviously.
Sure, very different.
That stands aside from the sport.
Yes, can be, but the chips have to fall correctly, because if it all ends now, then he'll probably make it work, and hopefully he won't be bitter. And he can still make it work within our space. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the future for Tom. I don't want to fast track it. I want to see him exercise all of his skills and go through all of the roller coaster ride that is there laid out before him. But after that, I'm hoping I'm still around so that I can maybe work with him like I did with Dan Hardy and I am with Michael Bisping, and help him in any way that I can, get a little bit more comfortable in the broadcasting sense, and then see him fly. And
he's got a no-nonsense fun style that kind of does lend itself well to it, right?
We'll understand that in the UK. We won't understand necessarily the monster truck style that you would get with a DC. Would DC cut through in UK TV, primetime UK TV? I don't know. It would do for me.
Yeah, me too.
I love him to bits. But maybe that's because of our other associations. Yeah. But if someone came out of nowhere with his style, I don't know. But Tom would fit the bill. It's a bit like we saw Kate Scott on a UFC broadcast for the first time on the Paddy fights. The way she opened the show was she opened it in a way that I was told, don't ever do that again, because it was a very British way. Now, they won't ever say that to Kate because she's owned her rights to do it that way. I'm very much being paid by them to do it their way. But we're just we don't shout and scream into the microphones as much and bring that forceful energy. So... yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Tom's career goes. And then if he goes down the broadcasting route, hopefully I will be stood next to him at some point. Because I think he's great.
I mean, again, as an English, British UFC fan, I adore him. Obviously saw him fight in Manchester. And
it's a great story. I love his dad as well.
The roof blew off the place. Him and Paddy, when Paddy came out, that was almost like a euphoric kind of Jesus.
2022 event in London. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It's amazing, isn't it, what they can do? I mean, I could throw names at you all day, and I'd love to. I think it's being from Gloucester, and he's on the London card. I'd love to hear what you think of Christian Leroy Duncan.
Dynamic in his fighting style, a true humble martial artist who is so married to the betterment of his craft. And just it's got such a warm soul, isn't he? Very understated.
When I first met him, he was 26, 27, and you'd be forgiven for thinking he was 50. He's just got that kind of calm about him. That is wonderful. And again, to speak to those audiences that maybe see UFC MMA in a particular way.
Yeah.
Watch Christian, how he conducts himself and how he trains and how he fights. I remember seeing a comment on one of his fights, can't remember if it's Cage Warriors or UFC again, and they said he fights like a Tekken character.
Yes.
And sometimes I worry, don't necessarily play up to that because, that's a difficult it's a difficult corner to kind of paint yourself into. Yeah. But equally, you never know, right? You never know what the hell that kid's going to do.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be ranked. That's obviously, the aim.
I think that he's destined for great things. He's also the kind of guy, I don't think it is in his future. But when like Tom Hardy reads bedtime stories for kids, because he's got a great voice. Yeah. Like CLD could do that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I could see him by the open fire with his deep voice, just reading some stories.
He and his brother told me some wonderful thoughts, and Christian would love to. He said, all being well and done, kind of essentially built buy a cul-de-sac and just for his family.
Did he say that?
Yeah. You talk about humility. Like. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
Like a great guy and a great proponent of somebody to look up to. My son, who's 14, has been doing MMA now for 7 years. He's like, he trained with him recently. Nice. And he trained with Mark, actually rolled with Mark the other day. And he's like, they're levels. There are levels and there are levels and there are levels. Yeah. And he was like, it's just what a wonderful thing to, for us, especially to have access to, But again, anybody listening or watching, there are gyms near you where these fighters, whether they're in the UFC or not, are on their way up. Yeah. There will be gyms within 20 miles, I can almost guarantee it, with with fighters that are exciting that you can go and almost just kind of luxuriate in the presence of. They're there.
That wild, by the way?
It's amazing. What a thing.
You're never going to be able to train with a Premier League footballer.
Exactly. You can't just pop down to the park and, oh, look, there's, Saka. Yeah. It's an amazing thing and, truly a wonderful sport for exactly that. Again, John, I feel like I could talk to you all day about these things. A question I always ask people is, I've got two questions for you, actually. The question I always ask people is, can you complete this sentence for me? If anything is possible, if
you really see it.
So you think it's a visualization thing?
Yeah, you have to. You have to be able to paint the picture because it gives you something more sort of, visceral. You've got to really see it. Otherwise, it's like if you don't plan it and all those kind of things, you have to put that out there.
Love it. And what is there a next for you?
Yeah, there's loads of things I want to do. Loads of things. We talk about throwing down the ladder. I'd like to help other broadcasters. I've been building something for years, actually. And this year is the year where I'll start really sharing things hard to help budding broadcasters and help people with everyone. I feel like I can still share with other people that are even like to be in the room with other people who are like doing the stuff that I'm doing. We can all learn off of each other, right? But I want to get to a place where I can really help in the training of all of that kind of stuff. Definitely want to help more in the mixed martial arts community, help these boys, girls, men and women just get access to better people, better commercial partnerships and all of those sorts of things. I'm still indulging in my life as a tradesman, if you will. I'm doing a refurbishment project at the moment. Wow, so okay. I still like to do things like that. What else? Was there anything else that I was thinking about this the other day? But no, mostly around broadcasting and the sport. I need to test myself physically. I was talking to my wife about that yesterday. I haven't done that for a while, like competitively.
We're talking about marathons at Saab.
That kind of thing. Yeah, I haven't. Because I did an Ironman in 2016. I do know. So 10 years has passed. Yeah. And I've not done something which was completely outside of my
something
comfort
crazy.
Zone. Do something crazy, but the body's not. It's not holding up so good at the moment. So we'll see. But I like to do something physically challenging as well.
Nice.
So
Where can people find you, John?
Mostly on the road. I'm mostly on Instagram. I think I've got an unhealthy addiction to that. A little bit on the old TikTok, and I am looking to to be more present on YouTube, but that's where you can find me.
It's funny you say that about being on the road. I messaged Mark just before this, as in yesterday, and I said, any thoughts, stories, comments, and he said, he just always seems to be bloody working. He seems to be he said, that you just seem to constantly be out there and, getting after it.
I don't feel like I'm out there enough.
Right.
Truth be told, I don't know where that comes from. I think it's deeply rooted in me. I'm trying to break the cycle as well, because my dad was just working all the time.
Yeah.
He missed out a lot.
Yeah.
So my wife reminds me, she keeps me in check. She's a very strong woman. So, you will never get balance in life. You really won't. But I'm lucky that I have this. I didn't think I'd get 10 years out of it. It's not going to last forever. Whether it would be the UFC say, thanks very much, we're going in a different direction, or I say, I can't keep crying every time I leave the house and see my daughter in pieces and things like that. So there will be a time when...
Just about building your own kind of... your own thing at some point as well, right?
Yeah. You've got to do that. And when you feel like other people are just going to serve it better, and I choose a different direction, maybe, we'll see. But right now, there's plenty of work to be done. I'm hungry. I have the energy for it, the appetite, and
still the curiosity and the passion which just shines through.
I want to get my jiu-jitsu black belt. Nice. That's important for me to be a black belt. I've been training my arse off now for 15 plus years. So
that's legit, John. That's so,
Oh, God.
You'll get there, man.
Well, hopefully.
You will.
I want to get there. But lots of get my black belt in broadcasting as well, whatever that looks like.
Thank you so much for this. It's been an absolute pleasure and honour, honestly. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, John. Mate, thank you.
You happy?
I love it. Fills me up. I said in my story, they're the best days. They really are truly, interview days are the best days I get to do this. And who doesn't want to do this? And we are back. Hope you enjoyed that one. I am back next week with another John, as it happens. The John I told you about in last episode, I got my scheduling wrong. John Myatt. John is effectively the UK's answer to Wim Hof. Hard as nails. Open water swimmer, ice swimmer, does crazy stuff. Crazy human. World champion. And phenomenal. So look forward to that one. It is a different way of life, let me tell you that. If you don't already, go and follow projectpossible.substack.com. Subscribe there. I'll email you with the episode every week. That's how many of you are listening to this. Go follow me, Rich Lee Pod, LEIGHPOD on Instagram. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube yet, or Spotify, or wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, please do. It really helps. Leave a review. 5 stars are wonderful. Thanking you kindly. Other than that, I think that's everything. All right? Yeah, we're done. We're good. All right. Have a great week. Until we speak again, stay strong.